Well, good morning. On this beautiful Sunday, it's not raining out. I'm happy to see all of you here. And if you're new to this congregation or new to Unitarian Universalism, please ask someone with a name tag. I'm supposed to have one. I'm Carol, and I can answer the questions. Neil, would you raise your hand? He's our president. He can probably answer questions, and if someone else has a name tag, they probably can too. If you don't know, if they don't know the answer, you could probably, they can point you to someone who can. In short, we're a free people who are responsible for our own spirituality, and that no one here is likely to tell you what you're supposed to believe. And we're based on love and demonstrate that love through service. Let's sing our welcome song. Today's service will be streamed on Zoom. Portions of it will be available for viewing later on your YouTube channel, and that's in your in the order of service. Roots and Shoots religious education is not available today because I'm not there, I'm here. Our nursery worker here today? Okay. Sorry about that. Today at UUC, there's adult discussion. Oh, that was earlier, 9:30, you missed that. And today we're having worship. This is the first time I've done this with the announcements to read. So the UUC at 12 o'clock, the UUC Stone Action Group is meeting on Zoom. At 12:45, there's Kung Fu. At 1 o'clock, Tai Chi. At 4:30 is marriage enrichment. And this week at UUC, on Monday, is yoga and new beginnings of NA. It's Narcotics Anonymous, I think. Tuesday, 6:30 is Care and Connection. Wednesday, UU Music Makers Practice, SOAP, SOAR, yes, I know that. I just didn't read it right. SOAR Mutual Aid Meeting, KUPC. I don't know what that means. What? Oh, it's at the church, the other church, the Presbyterian church. 6:30 is a board meeting, and Neil, I'll be coming to that in person if I can. Okay, and Thursday is Spiro Moon Grove. That's our pagan group. And next Sunday is an adult discussion group, and the worship service is on grief. The speaker is Archana Nasariam Han. I'm sure that I butchered that. She's going to be the worship coordinator, and Paul Dazell in charge of the music. No, I read that wrong. I guess the name that I butchered, the lady, she's going to do the service. She's going to be the speaker. Paul's the coordinator. And Jamie Edwards is the music coordinator, and he's off today because we have Louis. And there's a third Sunday potluck, and next week, and Kung Fu and Tai Chi. Is there anything else? On the back talks about Spiro Moon Grove, and upcoming service. The next one is on grief and awareness with Neil. On the 3rd is my journey from a cornbread and beans Southern Baptist to the Islamic faith and happiness. And that's Morgan Fowler. And on August 50th, okay, I'm going to get, I hope I can read the service better than I'm reading this.
Yes. Tell us to read this. Read your announcements, yeah.
Okay. On the upcoming service on August 10th is Sweets of the East. My daughter, Lauren Weatherford, is going to be the speaker. And that's the rafting group of women who went down to, I think it was Chile, and competed internationally in only their second meet. And they're thinking about if they should go to a different place in South America this year. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. The Kaleidoscope Collective, you can read that. And there's a thing on all the things that we're doing about wellness. And we have a fundraiser. It's only $10. And Paul, it's about trivia night. I'm going to try and come to that. But if all the trivia is about sports, I'm going to lose badly. Okay, I have a couple of personal things today. One is I'm dedicating this service to my husband, who I lost quite some time ago. But he was a 12-year-old, he heard a Glenn Miller record, and it changed his life. And he became an aficionado of jazz and did some writing. In fact, he wrote the liner notes on one of Louis' albums. And he was also a collector. If you know collectors, they're all crazy. So he got crazy when he was collecting. And I had a long visit with my daughter who lives in Fayetteville over the 4th of July, and she offered me to move in with her, but it's a year from now, because she has 2 children who are graduating from college. One's heading to Australia, and one's heading to the Northeast. The rafter is going to the Northwest, Oregon and around there. I guess the rafting's good, but there might be other things that she's going for.
Are you gonna?
Oh, I'm not for it, but I'm considering it. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages. I wouldn't be here very much. So that's why I'm announcing it, because if you don't know it, I'm in charge of the RE Religious Exploration Program, and I might be leaving in a year or so, and I need someone to work with me anyway. Let's all read the chalice lighting. The chalice is the container, the space where the musician and the listeners gather. The oil is the flue, the hours of practice, and the life experience of everyone in the room. The wick is the instrument and vocal cords through which the music will flow. And the flame and the music which is created as if by magic. When the instruments are lifted, the breath is inhaled, and the downbeat is nodded, and the flame ignites the music within us all. Now it's the time to think about our joys, our celebrations, our sorrows, and other things that we are concerned about. And thank you for lighting that. I always forget something. I forgot to ask someone to do that, so thanks. A joy. The volunteer response from Ammon, is that American?
The volunteer response from American
Yeah, I was rescued one time by a bunch of burly Mexicans when I went off the road. And concerns. The Texas floods in Kerr County, heartsick that it's swept away the lives of so many children. Hard to look away, and videos of children's clothes and toys. What shall we do with such suffering? It's something to think about. And we have floods, and we had just a few weeks ago a flood in West Virginia, a pretty serious one, and people died. It's on YouTube, and you can see totally demolished buildings. And there was an apartment house that's several stories high, and there was a family up on the top floor, and they did get out, but it was really treacherous. But we have floods. We haven't ever had one as serious as that one, but we do have them, and they are serious. The first song we're going to have is called Heebie-Jeebies. Now, I don't know what the heebie-jeebies are like. I think they're like cooties, which we had to worry about when we were in elementary school. I know I was always worried about them. And I think heebie-jeebies are something like that, but you can't see them.
I always thought that they were like, when you're scared of something or nervous. Goosebumps, yeah.
It could be. I don't remember what it was, but there was some kind of goblin that my grandmother always scared us about, that this horrible thing, it was something like a boogeyman, but she was from Europe, so she used a different name. Maybe that's the heebie-jeebies. Anyway, this is the first recording of scat singing. You probably know what scat singing is. And Louis Armstrong may have invented it, and there's a myth about it that says he did it because he dropped his music. That's not true. But there's a lot of stories about Louis that aren't true. So let's play Heebie-Jeebies. Give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. By Kristen Collins. And the ushers will now pass the basket. Today we're going to try something that we haven't tried in a while, a silent meditation. A silent meditation on a piece of music that you particularly love. Select it. Play it in your head or just think about it. How does it make you feel? Do you want to dance or cry? Lewis said, and I'm paraphrasing now, it doesn't matter whether the piece is delightful or retchingly sad, it can touch your soul. Dwell for a moment in the exquisiteness. What are you feeling? Just be one with it, and we will practice silent meditation. Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong. Bessie was the famous Empress of the Blues. And she was to the African American people in the 20s, and all these songs are from the 20s, like Beyonce is to our time. She chose Louis because he was the top instrumentalist around. However, she did not like the results and never would work with Louis again. Ideas why she didn't wouldn't work with him anymore? Why would he get all the attention? He was cool. That's sort of it. Anybody know?
They didn't show them together, like in the video. Like, because if they had, maybe we could have seen some kind of vibe or something, but I don't know.
Well, he did a duet. He didn't do an accompaniment. That's what you were getting at. Yeah. And, you know, they were both divas. Certainly Bessie was. So she didn't want anybody taking over her territory. So she picked the wrong person for what she wanted. But that's a beautiful record. Okay, let's think about, I want to tell you about Louis and Joy. People, I went through a lot of comments about Louis and his different performances and different things about him. I tried to get some personal things. It wasn't too much, but mostly it was about his music. What a surprise. But people say, why was he always smiling? Well, he was a happy person. That's one reason he was always smiling, and people who were close to him, his family, said that that's one reason he did. And he was a really good person. Now, he may have been a very good husband. Apparently, he wasn't. Now, in the first, I couldn't see the video, but in the first song, Heebie Jeebies, that was with his first group, the Hot Five, and there was a woman in there. Did you notice that? That was kind of rare. She played the piano. Her name was Lil Hardin Armstrong. She was his second wife. He had 4. One died. But anyway, Lil wrote songs and was a marvelous piano player and contributed as much as the men to the Hot Five. And she's largely forgotten, but she was really important. He grew up in Storyville in New Orleans, which was the black community, of course. And his mother, Mary Ann, was 15 when she had him, and she took him directly to her mother's house and left him. And they had a really, not contentious, because Louis got along with everybody. But throughout his childhood, she would leave for a while. She was a prostitute. She'd go to jail, and when you were black and you were arrested for prostitution, you had a choice of paying a fine or going to jail for 3 months. Well, she didn't have any money, so she went for jail for 3 months. That happened about once a year. And he was left taking care of his sister, who was about a year younger than him. He was on the streets. He did go to school, but didn't have any great attention. In fact, late in life, he said, you know, I probably should have stayed in school. I would have accomplished something. I don't know what he was planning on accomplishing. Let's see. Now, I have more here than I can possibly tell you, so I don't want the service to go too long. He was on the street. He was with gangs. He was arrested. It was decided by the police that he was a bad kid. He never hurt anybody or did anything really bad, but he did get into mischief, and he did come to the attention of the police. And he was his upbringing was very chaotic. Sometimes he didn't know where he was going to sleep. Often he slept in some house that had 5 or 6 kids in a bed. Very poor. And when his mother went to jail, he was left taking care of his sister before he was 10. He was sent to, he got in trouble with the police, and I don't remember exactly what the conditions were. But he ended up, instead of going to orphan's home or waif's home, whatever it was called at that time, he was taken in by a Jewish family. And they treated him just like he was one of their own children. Now, that's a little different than taking in a person who's about 10 years old in this day and age, because the whole family worked. They sold coal and delivered ice, and they had a truck, and whatever they could do with the truck, everybody contributed to the work. They had, I think, 6 or 7 children, and they took in Louis. They were comfortable. They weren't well off, but they were comfortable. And they treated him very well. They bought him his first horn, I don't know if they bought it, they gave him his first horn. But at a young age, when he was around 10 or 11, his job was to take the coal from the truck to the house. And that was pretty heavy for a kid that age. And he continued to have back problems his whole life because of it. Oh, one thing I didn't tell you, before he was with the Karnofskys, that was their name, one of his buddies that he hung out with had a tin horn, just a toy. And Louis took it and started playing with it, playing music with it. Now you wonder how a person who was so deprived, whose very existence was on edge, and that he had so many challenges. But he was in Storyville. Have you heard of Storyville? Anybody? You have. Somebody else has. What do you know about it?
I knew that there were a lot of brothels.
What?
Brothels.
Brothels, yes. There was a lot of brothels.
Everything fun that went down was going on there. People were being ornery, getting into trouble. There was lots of drugs, there was lots of alcohol, lots of partying.
Yeah, as far as, it was probably one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, maybe the worst. But there was music in Storyville. It was all around, because the nightclubs, the brothels, they had entertainment. I called them nightclubs, but they probably weren't really nightclubs. But in any case, there was music. Buddy Bolden, who's supposed to be the person who invented jazz, never recorded, but he was playing in Storyville. And eventually, there was a guy named King Oliver, an older guy, but he had his own band. And he went to Chicago and was making a name for himself in Chicago, playing this jazz stuff, which was new. And he needed another cornet player, and he sent Louis a telegram. And this is when Louis was older. I'm jumping around a bit. And he asked his grandma, should I go? I mean, I know there's, Mom needs help, and you're getting older. Should I stay here? And she says, get out of town. And he went, and he was the second cornet to King Oliver. And they made records together. They made some really good ones. And Louis would watch King Oliver, and he'd watch his fingering, and he'd study him. And see, he said the other guys, too, would do the same thing, but he concentrated, and they didn't concentrate. And he learned the cornet from King Oliver.
How old was he?
He left for Chicago when he was 19. And all the story I'm going to tell is from that decade of the 20s. And he ran into some trouble in Chicago, but he got out of it. But he made a name for himself, and eventually he formed, I think it was in 23, could have been in 25, somewhere around, he founded his own band, the Hot Five. And then later, the Hot Seven. And by the end of the decade, he had his own orchestra. And he played in Chicago and he played in New York. Let me see what else I have. Louis always wore a Star of David pendant in memory of the family that he lived with. Louis, let's see, there's a story I want to tell, but I can't remember it. Maybe it'll come to me. Oh, okay. This is later in his life. You know, he was an ambassador. He was called the world's ambassador from the United States. And he and his orchestra traveled all around the world, and they played in Russia, and they played in, South America and all the different places in Europe. And of course, he was a big hit because this was probably in the 40s and 50s, and people knew what jazz was by then, and they knew that this guy was good. And he also, there's a transition period in there when it happened about the 30s, and he knew he was really big among the African American population, but the white people didn't know too much what jazz was or hadn't experienced. It wasn't played on the radio. Lots of musicians didn't record, and they didn't record because they didn't think of recordings as a way of marketing your product. They considered a way of just recording the moment. So if they wanted to hear what they did in the 20s when they were in the 50s, they could go back and play the recording. They did some of the recordings in Richmond, not Kentucky. No. The next state over from Ohio, southeast portion, where Chicago is. Illinois. Thank you. What's next to Ohio? Indiana. Thank you. I'm 84. I forget things. But anyway, they went and recorded in Indiana, and it was Indiana and Richmond, Indiana. Well, Richmond, Indiana was the headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan, and most of the recordings that the Jeanette Studio, which is where they did their recordings, was played. They recorded Klan songs. So this band, these 5 guys from Chicago, would take a train down to the Jeanette Studios. And when they got there, they found all these Klansmen. Well, they were horrified and scared. Rightly so, I think. So they stayed there one day, and they were supposed to come back the next day. And what they did, they took the train to Chicago at night and came back by the time in the morning so they could play again, so they could do their recordings again. And some of the best jazz, a lot of the best jazz records were recorded in the Jeanette Studios in Richmond, Indiana. I lived in southwest Ohio, and we were about 10 miles away from Richmond. So we went there, we went to the Jeanette Studios. Some people think they're still there, but they're not there. Because I saw the building, and it was in a wreck. It was torn down. I got a brick from it and took it home. The brick disappeared because somebody probably thought it was just an old brick, which of course it was. But anyway, Louis decided that he had to expand his. Now, he was a good businessman. He was a good entrepreneur. He was a good marketer. And he knew he had to reach other people besides the black people. I said this already, he needed to expand his repertoire into the white population. That's why he started playing pop songs. And that led to a problem for him. The problem was with the black people because they thought he was an Uncle Tom, because he had things like Hello, Dolly, and he had all kinds of hits which you would recognize of popular songs. But he transferred, he never stopped playing jazz, the original jazz, but he transferred to a more popular, marketable product. And because of that, a lot of the African American population considered him an Uncle Tom, but he wasn't. He was always, I've lost my screen here, but he was always contributing to the black population. Now somewhere, I don't know if, we did St. Louis Blues. Oh, there's something missing here. Do you have I'm So Black and Blue?
No. St. James is Harmony.
What?
St. James is Harmony, but I don't think I have I'm So Black.
Okay. Well, it's not on the order of service, so I guess I forgot to give it to them. But the song is "What Did I Do to Be So Black and Blue?" It was recorded in 1929, and it talks about what the title talks about. I'm black, you're not, and different things. He starts out just talking about things that are not very important, but as he gets into the song, he gets more deep into the issue of racism and what it's meant to him. And you can find it on YouTube, so I urge you to do that. I'm sorry I don't have it today. But in any case, What Did I Do to Be So Black and Blue by Louis Armstrong. So go and listen to it. So, despite being widely criticized behind the times, one of the most important moments in Armstrong's later career came when he spoke out in support of the civil rights movement. In the fall of 1957, Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus deployed the Arkansas National Guard to prevent 9 black children from integrating the Little Rock Central High School. Faubus's bigotry provoked a national controversy, leading President Dwight Eisenhower to advise, who had said he was all for the freedom of the black people and changing things and stuff like that. But when it come to really doing something, he advised Faubus not to define the Supreme Court's ruling against segregation. Frustrated with what he saw as Eisenhower's overly cautious response to Faubus, Armstrong lashed out at the federal government, sending an angry letter to Eisenhower criticizing his decisions. And Armstrong then went on record, he let the media know and all that stuff, that Eisenhower was two-faced. In protest, he canceled his scheduled State Department tour of the Soviet Union, saying that the way they are treating my people in the South, the government can go to hell. The people over there ask me what's wrong with my country. Armstrong said, "What am I to say? How am I supposed to answer that?" In criticizing the federal government's reluctance to challenge, the segregationist policy of the southern states, Armstrong joined the younger and more politically outspoken generation of jazz musicians. His voice was an important addition to the rising chorus of criticism against Jim Crow laws. There's one story I want to tell you about him. I don't know if it's true. I heard it from my husband, who knew about these things. It may be true. It would fit in with Lewis's character. But, you know, he was traveling with his orchestra all around the world. And he had a state dinner with the Queen, Queen Elizabeth. And they sat together, of course, and they had a great time discussing laxatives. Now, I don't know what the Queen's situation was, but his grandmother, Louis's grandmother, was very into home remedies. Really, there wasn't things like we can go to the store for stuff like that if we want to. Well, they weren't available at that time at all. So they discussed laxatives. And Louis continued with this thing his grandma made, which was outlawed by the federal government, the people who are supposed to regulate our drugs. And he continued to use it all his life, even to later life. So they discussed this and had a great time discussing laxatives. That's the story. Now, Lewis had many health issues, including problems with his bones or musculature or whatever around his face because of playing the horn so much and so loudly. There's one story that when he was recording in the Jeanette Studios, now the recording equipment was really primitive. What they had was a mic or two, and all the musicians would be around the mic and talking right into the mic, but it was a different kind of mic than this. And they used some non-electric process to record, and that's why old records from the 20s sound so tubby so often. Now, a lot of Louis' things are remastered and they sound better. But anyway, they would have Louis stand at the door and play his trumpet or his cornet because he was too loud to be near the mic, near where all the other musicians were. Now, as I said, he had multiple health issues. He had several heart attacks and other things. And this was in the 70s, I think 71. He had a big gig at the Biltmore in New York City. And he knew that people would be coming from all around to see him. And his doctor said, if you do go through with this gig, you're liable to die on stage. And Louis said, I can't disappoint all these people. And that was Louis. And he went and played, and he had his heart attack. Not on stage, but he did have his heart attack, and he died 5 days later in the hospital. Because he couldn't disappoint the people. He didn't need money by that time. Anyway, this is Mike Foster. We have a song that Louis played often, the St. James Infirmary Blues. It's a traditional song. It goes way back to Scotland, and it morphed into other different songs. But Mike, it's your turn.
I think he was the first to record it, but a Google search reveals that it was in the old country during a, dare I say, social disease epidemic. It was brought over to the States. And so it was a cover by the time Louis Armstrong recorded it. I'm going to do a lick and then the chords. Well, I was down at old Joe's barroom at the corner by the square. The drinks were served as usual, and the usual crowd was there. Now on my left stood Joe McKennedy, and his eyes were bloodshot red. And as he looked at the gang around him, these were the words he said. I went down to St. James Infirmary, and I saw my baby there. She was stretched out on a long white table, so young, so cold, so fair. Got it? 17 coal black horses hitched to a rubber-tired hack. 7 girls going to the graveyard. Only 6 are coming back.
Well, let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she can search this wide world over. She'll never find another sweet man like me. Take it, Michael.
You got one, Marjorie?
No, we're all doing
Which one?
it. The last two.
Crab shooters.
Okay.
What's crab shooters?
For all bearers.
Let a chorus girl sing me a song. Put a red hot jazz band at the top of my head, so we can raise hallelujah as we go along.
Heard my story. I'll take another shot of booze.
And if anyone here should ask you, I've got that St. James Infirmary. St. James Infirmary Blues. Thanks.
May we look upon this day for the beauty of the world, for the radiance of dawn, and the last smoldering glow of our sunset. Let us be thankful for physical joys, for hills to climb and hard work to do, for music that lifts our heart in one breath, for the hand clasp of a friend, and for the gracious loveliness of children who remind us of the wonders of life. May we be appreciative above all for the concern and love of those around us, for the exceeding bliss of the torch of the holy, which suddenly awakens our drowsy souls to the blessed awareness of the divine within us and within others, and yes, for Louis Armstrong. And the countless other blessings present in our lives, let us be grateful. Let us end let us end the service by letting our light shine brightly. Let us sing together with joy. Hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
of tune here.
A little fast.
Yeah. Play a G. G? Yeah, we're playing G.
Pretty close.
Okay. Go ahead, take it.
Ready?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good job.
Would help to be in tune.
I'll tell you,
Thanks, Carol.
I wish we'd had a bit more practice on that.
Play a G note for me. That sounds.